How we doing, everybody? Back at you with another video, second video of the day. I just wrapped up, 10 mistakes that I've made on this journey that I wish I haven't made. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Because I want to give as much wisdom as I possibly can, and maybe I can help somebody from, dropping into a pothole, or stepping into a pothole, or creating obstacles that don't really need to be there. Then I want to do that. So great video, check it out. I know it's pretty long, but I'm pretty sure you should be able to find something in there to be a blessing to you. So for the last few weeks, I know we've been on a particular focus. That focus have been making an uncommon sacrifice or commitment to your newfound organization. Now, we've been on this, quite a bit. This is something that I think is very, very important for us to do. Once if you're connecting to your church or your place of business, I think this is a very super important thing to do. This is one of the ways you can stand out right away and jumpstart your career or your connection with God. So going to this, I know our next quality is going the extra mile. We've been over dependability, we've been over loyalty, we've been over ability, and we've been over positive mental attitude. So going the extra mile is the next on the list. Going the extra mile is huge. I'm thinking about this testimony I've been wanted to release for a while. I think I'm gonna say that for the end. So I'm gonna say that for the next quality, but for this particular quality, going the extra mile. If you're talking about, if you want to start with just work, at Power Stop, going one of the ways that I went the extra mile is making sure I'm at work, showing up, being dependable is really, going over a little of the first two, but, staying late, that was one of the ways, if you're, just starting out and, the people don't know you, your boss doesn't really know you that well, you want to show that you're committed to the vision, and one of those ways is by hard work. You know what I mean? You want to, one of my friends once said one of the best ways you can do, one of the best things you can do when you're just hired, the boss don't really know you and he's getting to know you, is for him to see you stay late, and you staying late, just showing him how important it is to to get the work done, to make sure things are right. You're showing him that what he's doing matters to you, and you're doing that by showing your time. I was salary, so I could have left at the normal time, but I'm pretty sure my boss saw that, hey, he's staying a little later. I was motivated. I just got out of Red Lobster, and had just made this move, and this was something where I was thinking to myself, look, this has to work for me. I just left Red Lobster and I don't want to mess this up. So, making that move and, really start my career. This is probably one of the times I was first starting my career. So I'm still at the beginning, of this thing. So I was highly motivated to get things right. And when I look back on it, one of the things that I did was stay late and have it so even when the boss, sometimes he left before I did, you know. So he got used to leaving before I did, and you know, it speaks volumes. You know what I mean? You know, it's not enough just to be, you know, somebody that talks a whole lot of good stuff, but you know, your bosses have to see that in action. You know, you know, for him to see that you're working hard and you're not just staying late, you know, just to stay late, but you know, you're getting better about what you do. You know, like I told you in my interview, my sales skills were probably a 2 or 3. That's what I said. You know, by the time I looked up, you know, hey, I was making leaps and bounds. You know, just, you know, picking up on what I need to know, applying it, and having it so when the boss comes around and want to check on your work and see what you've been doing, you know, you're ready. And you know, that's when I would probably say going the extra mile probably made the biggest difference. You know what I mean? Is when it was a unplanned time when my boss came up to me, and he's known for really knocking people down, really being critical. And I spent a lot of time on this pricing file, making sure the pricing right. I'm really just going the extra mile and just making sure I'm putting everything in there that he can possibly ask, you know. And I remember one time he showed up, and I think he came with the mind that he's going to destroy what I've been doing, you know what I mean, and really undermine, you know, my work. And I think a lot of times bosses, they do that because they don't want to be disappointed. They already sometimes had a mindset that you're not who you say you are until I see it, you know. And I remember one time came unplanned, just came up, hey, I want to start. He started playing a game of 100 questions, and he was spitting them out like fire. They were fast, hey, fast, boom, boom, boom. And I remember, hey, he asked me a question. I said, yeah, I'm doing this because of this right here. I pointed. I said, my file is calculating this. And he said, well, why aren't you doing this? I said, I'm doing that too. I got this over here in my file. And I remember one of his last questions was, you know, well, what's the price of this? If you're doing what you need to do, you know, then this should be in there. And I remember that last thing he asked, I was able to point to it and say, yeah, I have the price of this right here, you know, and we're going up against this person, and this is how I am calculating the price we need to be at. And I remember I answered so many of his questions that he got to a point where he just said, okay, you on the ball then. And he walked away, you know. And, you know, they talk about, you know, I talked about it in day 0, faith is a fight. You know, sometimes fighting is not about maybe getting the knockout, but just outlasting your opponent, you know. And, you know, sometimes you have to outlast them by being prepared to just stand up in the ring, you know, especially against your boss. And it's not like you're just really fighting against your boss, but sometimes you got to outlast his questions. You got to show that you're prepared. You know, you have to show that that you haven't just been sowing the time, but you've been making good use of your time. You know, and I remember from that day on, it's like I had a certain level of respect from him. I had a certain level of respect from him. You know what I mean? Because if I just would have came in there just like another person and would have said, oh, okay, you know, I'm going to come here, do my job, and just be here the time they want me to be here, and I'm just going to bounce. You know, I wouldn't have been prepared for them. You know, going the extra mile made the difference, and could have made the difference between me having my job and not having it. You know, because I know he could have came to the point if I wasn't ready, being like, okay, well, you know, what have you been doing this time? Because, you know, when I was first starting out, it wasn't like they were really checking on everything I was doing. I was basically coming in, talk some, and basically lead and guide myself into learning the things I need to know. So, you know, it was another test of, you know, guidance, you know, self-direction, self-motivation. Are you able to manage your own time? And sometimes that's what some bosses will do early on is just leave you alone for a while. Leave you alone for a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months. And they made a predetermined time where after these 3 months, he should know something. If he don't know something, he's going to be seeing HR in a minute. Because if he have not done anything, and if he needs me to tell him everything to do, if he need for me to hold his hand when he goes to the bathroom, if he need me to show him how to do every single thing, then he's not worth the time and money. So, you know, when I think back on it, actually, I'm thinking about this for the first time in 8 years. That might have been the one thing that saved my job, just knowing him. If I couldn't answer his question, I could have been out of it. It was a do or die time, and that's what, you know, faith is about, and we have to treat faith about as, you know, it's about life and death. It's about either you're going to do or don't do, and if you're not going to do, then step aside for the person that will. So, you know, that's what, you know, I've been doing, and I know I talked about in previous videos. If you look back at the last 8 years, how many times have I been absent? Where you're talking about Power Stop or an Open Door Church, and like I said, I think it made. I don't even think it's less than. I don't think it's more than 8 times in 8 years, because I'm treating my position and what I'm doing there as if I'm this my first day. You know, you have some people where it's their first day. You can tell people that's on their first day because they're going all out. They're going the extra mile. And a lot of times you see that, you know, especially at restaurants, you know, and places of employment. You see this person is going out of their way. They're going the extra mile to get the job done, and you're thinking to yourself, sometimes he must be new. Or, you know, sometimes people can be thinking, how long this going to last? You know, and then you come back and see that person in 2-3 months. Most people, unfortunately, they're going to start getting relaxed, and they stop just going the extra mile, and they're just going, now they're going a half mile. That's not even extra. They're going half of where they need to be. So, you know, that's how I guess you know, what helps me is just, you know, I know, I just think about every day is this my first day. You know, I think about it as every day is just a life and death situation. You know what I mean? I got to get this day right. My family's depending on me. My children are depending on me. My wife depending on me. My mother and father depending on me. I take it seriously, you know what I mean? And so I think that that has helped me, you know, my mindset of just always being my first day. That's what helps me to go the extra mile. Just keep that fire and determination that it's no one that's going to walk through this door that's new is going to work as hard as I am. And I've challenged people that came through the Power Stopping office. I said, I think I told them even at the interview, because I know my boss got to the point where he was close. Me and him got close. He'll let me sit on the interviews. And I think I told one guy doing the interview, I said, you're not going to work as hard as me. I think I told one guy. I called one guy out. You know, I said, you're not going to work as hard as me, bro. You know, and I challenged him. And I know, I remember I challenged him in one question. I know, and it was amazing because he bucked up a little bit. He said, hey, you know, he kind of came back at me a little bit, but hey, that's one of the reasons how we saw that he was the right fit, because he wasn't just in some interview mode where, you know, you're not trying to offend or you're trying to cover up the real you. And he came out and said, no, he challenged me right back, you know. So, you know, that's how it is. And, you know, as a man of God, as a woman of God, you know, it may seem, you know, if someone come up to you and challenge you, you know, is it Christian like to come up and tell somebody, you know, you're not going to work as hard as I am? You know, like I said, you know, I want to make this an authentic take on faith. I'm not trying to make it what it's not. It's okay to challenge people. as a man and woman of God. And I think sometimes what I want to do is dispel sometimes we have some stereotypes that we feed into. And when I think back on it, would I have challenged him the way I did? I think it's to the point right now, God is probably saying, don't even worry about that. Don't even think about that. You're going to have your growing pains as a man or woman of God. Don't worry about your decisions being perfect. But just make sure you're growing in God. God's not expecting you to be perfect. He's more concerned with you just making progress. Don't shut yourself down. To see you and me making these videos and saying these things and saying the things I'm saying. I'm spontaneous when I'm saying. I'm not going to say anything that's out of pocket, but hey, I'm not concerned with people having their opinions. Because sometimes you get to the point where you won't go the extra mile because you're afraid that someone might say something. You won't go the extra mile because you're afraid to be wrong or be corrected. And that's not what bosses are looking for. Bosses are looking for people to go the extra mile. And the thing is, like I said in the previous video, see, bosses are happy even that guy to have to go extra mile and make more mistakes just because you can always steer something that's moving. Like this car right here, I can steer it if it's moving, but if it's not moving, I'd rather have a guy who's making more mistakes moving than a guy who's moving a lot less, making fewer mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know what I mean? Go the extra mile. Be you. Don't try and be someone else. Be you. So that's one of the things that, I suggest you definitely if you're in the workplace. Now, if you're at church, one of the ways I went extra mile, again, I'm saying it's really reflective. Just being there, just being available to serve. That's one thing I told Apostle. I told you about the gentleman that helped me, plug me into the church and really helped me to get acclimated. But I remember having a conversation with him and Apostle one time. I said, Apostle, hey, I'm here to serve. And I remember telling them that, and both of them hearing that. And then sometimes that is something you want to do. When you're talking about business or at church. I know I did this at church. I didn't really go. I don't remember saying it so much at business. I probably did. I probably said it at Power Stop, but I remember specifically more at church. Telling the boss or leader, look, this is what I plan to do here, and letting them know, look, you can keep your eye on me. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna be the guy that shows up every day. I'm gonna be the guy who goes the extra mile. I'm gonna be one of your hardest workers. And. I think I went into that before, but you making that proclamation, that declaration, you're putting yourself out there to be judged. You're really putting yourself out there to be corrected. You know what I mean? And so, again, you're telling them, I'm going to be going the extra mile. I'm not afraid to be corrected. And you can take it however you want to take it. But I'm going to do what I came here to do. And bosses love that. They love that. You know what I'm saying? So, that's something I would recommend too. Just make a declaration of what they can expect from you. And then if it's something that they would want more of, or that may be a great way to open the conversation up, because they may say, you know what, I need more of this, not so much hard work. I need this. Or they may need something else. A lot of times the boss is not going to tell you that they don't want hard work. They'll always love hard work. But, you open the conversation up for them to be able to keep an eye on you and for them to steer you in the right direction if there's a particular need in the house. Now, the need that was in the house was, in the sound ministry, So, I'm not sure who was the director at that time, but I remember for a good little minute, I used to be many times the only one up there. I think it was in between directors. People had to change their lifestyle, whatever the case may be. But early on, Apostle was able to depend on me as being the only person doing the sound. I think it was probably a good year. If I remember correctly, it was a good year. I was just by myself. I was running the whole soundboard by myself, and I wasn't, I had to be vulnerable because I wasn't necessarily the most talented person when it came to doing the sound, but I took the little bit that was taught me, and I just did the best way I can do. Now, I was corrected a lot. People would say, look, it's too loud, too this. And then, like I said, that didn't make me back down. Because there's some people that have back down if you start correcting them and start calling them out. There's many times I was called out in front of the whole congregation. Steve, you got to get this right. And I know in the moment, you feel like 2 cents. Because now, in front of the church, someone has called you out and said, look, you got to get this right. And you could have the attitude, well, I'm the only person here, or I just started doing this. But no, you just take responsibility and say, you know what, I'm sorry, we're going to move on. And there's times where I did that, publicly apologize. And I remember Apostle commended me for that. He said, look, I appreciate that. You apologized, and, I told you in front of everybody you weren't doing something, and you were just man enough to say, hey, I'm sorry, and move on. And that's something that bosses want to do, whether you're talking about at work, and it's something I noticed. If you're talking about Arvin or you're talking about Apostle, they want to be able to know if they can knock you down and you'll get back up. Because I'm in a fight right now, and I need people with me that can get knocked down and they can get back up. Because if you get knocked down and you're not getting back up, I don't need you. And that's about sometimes going the extra mile. Going the extra mile is just getting back up. You may not be the expert boxer. You may not be able to may not have the best left hook. But you can tell Apostle, or you tell Arvin, hey, look, if I get knocked down, Arvin, Apostle, I'm getting back up. And that may just be enough. Because you'll be surprised how many people don't get back up. So, going the extra mile is so important. If you're talking about your career, you're talking about your job, you're talking about even things in your family, where your family knows, look, I can depend on daddy to do this. I can depend on my husband, and my wife saying I can depend on my husband to do this. And, you're going to go the extra mile to make sure you don't cheat. You're going to go the extra mile to make sure you're not getting caught somewhere you shouldn't be. You're going the extra mile to make sure that you remain the man of valor that you are. Because number one, beyond your church depending on you, and your job depending on you, your family's depending on you the most. So definitely I want to get to that. We're on number 5 with going the extra mile, and like I said, we're going to wrap this up. And I think I'm saving one of the best for last, for number 6. So my wife had once said that one of the biggest things she ever seen me do was this one thing, and like I said, I want to share that with you in this next one. Stay tuned. That's going to be a great story. I can't wait to share it. It was probably, I would even say it was the biggest turning point in my life of faith. I would probably have to say it was my biggest turning point in my life of faith. So stay tuned. We're going to get into that very shortly, and like I said, we're going to wrap up this week, and we're going to get into the next thing that God has given me for next week. I'm going to probably release it to you Saturday. The next topic we want to get into, because God has really been dealing with me in my spirit about it. He's been really giving me some things to store up so that I can release it to you when the time is right. So yes, we're going to have this wrapped up by Saturday. Today's Thursday, so we got 2 more days with this topic. We're going to finish up some things, and then we'll be done, ready for the next week. All right now.